Hi everyone. Ever since I got my first car, I've done all the mechanic work myself, whether that be maintenance, repairs, or even modifications. And in all that time, as you can guess, I've gotten really good at it. Only problem is, now anybody and everybody who knows me, when they need help, who do they go to? That's right, me. On this week's occasion, it's actually my girlfriend, and we're going to be helping her replace her headlight because she shattered hers doing God knows what. Luckily it's super easy and I'm going to show you guys how to do it, but before we get to it, I want to do some background information. So what exactly is a headlight? Well, it's a powerful light that's mounted on the front of any motor vehicle or railroad engine. Why are they so important? Simple. Just listen to the stats. According to the United States National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, approximately half of the deadly accidents occur during night, despite the fact that night driving accounts for only 25% of overall traffic in the United States. So when were they actually made? Headlights were made in the 1880s, and they consisted of acetylene and oil, and they look like that. Luckily, we switched to electric bulbs soon after because I cannot see those really lighting much up. The first electric headlamp was produced by the Electric Vehicle Company in 1898. This soon switched to halogen lamps. Those were introduced in 1962 in Europe. Us here in the United States, we didn't adopt them until 1978. Now, since then, we've experimented with high-intensity discharge systems. You guys probably remember those. Those were the really bright blue, cool-looking lights that first came out a couple decades ago. Well, since then, we've actually switched to LEDs, which in my opinion look way cleaner and, yeah, look really cool. So, what are we going to need to switch this headlight? Not many tools at all. Super cheap if you guys don't have any of these. It's a ratchet, extension, 2 sockets. One's going to be a 10mm socket, and one's going to be an 8mm socket. And finally, a nifty prying tool, otherwise known as a flathead screwdriver. So first is first, what do? Pop the hood. Once we do that, we're going to have to locate our bulbs. We're going to have to disconnect these from the actual headlight. As you can see here, you got one for your low light and your high light, or your high bulb. And what we're going to do is push this little lever here, push it in, and pull down at the same time to unplug it, as you can see there. Now, to actually remove these headlights, we're going to have to remove the front bumper cover. Sounds hard, but it's actually not. Super simple. The first step to that is to remove the 2 bolts holding the bumper on each end. This one's located on the wheel well, so if you're looking at the tire here, your front bumper's here, right here in the crease is going to be your first one right there. That'll be an 8mm socket. Same thing with the one underneath it. After that, we're going to locate some push pins. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with these, or they're consisted of plastic, super easy to get out. All you need is your screwdriver, push it in there, pop the head out, and then the entire assembly comes apart. Now in these older vehicles, over time that plastic becomes brittle, so it may be possible that you break some of them. Luckily, over at the auto parts store, they're super cheap. You can just buy a new pack of them. There's going to be 4 on the bottom, 4 on top. Once we remove all of these, you'll see this little ledge here. That's actually what the front bumper is hanging on. So you're going to have to lift that up and pop it off that ledge. And then on the sides, you're going to have to do the opposite. You're going to have to push down and out. Just be careful if you're on concrete, because once you do this, it's going to release the entire front bumper, and you don't want it falling on concrete and scratching the front bumper and having your girlfriend scream at you. That's another view of that little ledge I was talking about. Once we have the bumper off, we're gonna have to be removing the bolts. These are 10mm bolts. There's gonna be 4 on each bulb, on each headlight on the bottom. This is gonna be a little bracket that sits underneath the headlight that holds it. And we're gonna remove all 4 bolts. Once we do that, the bracket actually comes out. And then we have access to the turn signal. This is a turn signal bulb that's located underneath the headlight. So you're just gonna have to reach underneath there and unplug it like we did the first 2 bulbs. Once you do that, we're gonna remove the last bolt that's holding the headlight in. This is one bolt that has a little bracket on top of it. And voila, once we remove that, the entire headlight is loose. So you can pull it out, but just be real careful, just pull it out slowly and remove this last little bulb. Rather than disconnecting the actual connector that has all that gunk and possibly getting those terminals dirty, I believe it's easier if you just turn the entire bulb counterclockwise and remove it. Just be careful not to touch the end of that bulb because any kind of oil can actually cause a bulb to fail earlier. So I've talked to you guys and showed you what old bulbs used to look like, old headlights, and new headlights. So all this can be done in less than 45 minutes. Usually it takes around 30 minutes. No problem. So instead of paying a mechanic hundreds of dollars, next time you guys get in a fender bender, just go ahead and do it yourself. I ended up buying the new headlight, well, it was actually used at a junkyard for 40 bucks. So all in all, $40 and 30 minutes of my time, and just saved 200 bucks. Well, thank you guys and see you next time.